Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 440 for Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. My name is Russell Frost, and I have the good fortune to be your host on this week's adventure into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. Let me introduce this marvelous panel, and let's get this show on the road. My friend in California suffering under the extreme weather that we both have this week. Yes, that's a barb thrown at least two other people on this panel. Georgia McKenzie.
Actually, a barb thrown at three people on this panel because we are suffering with temperatures in the mid-50s, and
I can wash my car in that weather.
a number of everybody else basically should just tell us to suck it because they would love to have some mid-50s right now. Thank you very much.
I've been waiting to wash the salt off, but I figured that if I get it wet, it's going to freeze to the car.
But I will point out that I am still chilled.
It is
I'm
cool
still cold. I'm waiting for the 70s.
We are operating, my wife just pointed out to me, we are operating.
I see him moving, but I don't hear him.
His lips are moving. But
You can't hear?
Now
we
it's
hear you now.
Now
No?
we can.
Now you can hear.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yay. It's supposed to be 36 here tonight. Brr.
So you'll experience this.
Yeah, but by the time it drops down to the mid 30s here, I'm usually under about 4 blankets and 2 cats. So I don't feel it.
Kind of the way it should be. Well, speaking of cold weather, he is shoveling snow nonstop from today until Friday. Please give him a little genuine sympathy, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
No?
Yes, indeed. We've got a snow alert going on here in southern Ontario. But we'll get through it. Just another thing that you have to put up with being Canadian. Snow and shoveling go hand in hand with being Canadian.
You signed up for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they will rebuild. They are
lot?
strong. It's Canada strong.
Is there a lot you have to put up being Canadian? I mean, I thought being Canadian was kind of
Well,
easy.
there's the bad maple syrup
No?
jokes. There's the...
Bad
no.
maple syrup jokes.
Well, there's maple syrup reserves because there are maple syrup bandits, for Pete's sake. I mean,
Yeah, you
You
guys have
steal
Fort
hundreds
Knox.
of thousands
We've
of
got-
gallons.
We've got gallons of maple syrup hidden somewhere in the great Canadian
Yeah,
North.
the strategic.
The strategic reserves.
And I guess you guys are infected with truckers that came from the U.S. Is that the story?
Yeah, we got all sorts of fun happening in Ottawa, Ontario, the capital of Canada. We've got a trucker freedom party, and apparently there's a lot of Americans in Canada at this time that have come up for the
I am so sorry. On behalf of America, I do apologize for exporting
It
our
was
crazy.
really
to
interesting
you.
seeing the rebel flag flying in Ottawa this
And
past
what is it?
weekend, and
Yeah.
What for?
yeah, that's amazing. But
I just
it
wanted
happened.
to bring the two ends of the
That's-
Underground Railroad together for
Yeah.
February.
Oh
Well,
man.
that's the thing I was mentioning to Casey previous was I don't know if you guys saw it, but during your insurrection at your capital, there was a video of somebody flying the Canadian flag mounting the stairs as well. So I guess turnabout is fair play.
I think there's extra punishment if you come in and try to topple another government.
Basically, look, once again, sorry for exporting our crazy. I know American culture is it gets into everything, which is why you have deep dish pizza and insurrectionists. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Yay for the insurrectionists. All right. Well, he is not leading an insurrection, even if he is dangerously close to Washington, D.C., and we understand he's on the edge of the killer snowstorm that Mark is dealing with. Mr. Supercharger, Casey Green.
That's right. All it takes is a couple butterfly flaps and I'll be in it. But we'll see how it actually plays out. And I am tracking a supercharger launch around the corner from my house. We'll see when it's ready, but it was not ready yesterday.
Oh, JT is already making fun of Mark. That's not even right, JT, so you just stop that right now. Play nice. And last and certainly not least, he is the owner and founder of Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, y'all. It seems like it's been forever since I've been here, but glad to be back. And it's a whopping
the same
6
way,
degrees
Paul.
right now. So,
Oh yeah, show them your 6 degrees.
yeah.
He did prove that it is 6 degrees. Should we all hold up our iPhones and
Yes.
Well,
I would need an iPhone to do that.
whatever, Mr.
And,
Android.
and Mark, that's 6
There you
degrees
go.
American, not.
Yeah, 6 degrees
That's
American.
cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
The 6 degrees. Oh, that's true. It's not that Canadian 6 degrees. That doesn't even count. Like
Minus
Canada's
2.
the only
Is that
ca-
minus 2
Minus
American or
two.
Canadian?
man.
Oh.
Oh.
yeah, see, I have relatives in Canada, and I'm just kind of like, you guys got to tell me what 5 days in the year I can visit, so I can avoid that minusy.
It's
thing.
in July, August. I'll just give you a hint.
Just
You gotta avoid the
that's-
bird-sized mosquitoes too.
You know, I've visited Canada 3 times, and every time it's in the depths of winter. One time specifically because it was in the winter.
We're going
No,
skiing?
don't. I mean, I loved it. I went to Winter Carnival in
Oh.
Quebec
In
City,
Quebec City.
and it was
Yeah.
magical. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, I'm always confused
a
because there's
wonderful-
a heavy-duty Jamaican population in Canada, and
Yeah, in
I am
Toronto.
completely mystified. Why the hell are my people going to Canada to live? I have family up there, and I remember visiting when that was the first place we went to when my parents brought me over from Jamaica, and I was just kind of like, oh well, this seems interestingly cold. Why? And I know they're still up there, and it's sometimes my friends up there are like, come visit, and I think these great thoughts of travel, and then I see the temperatures, and I'm just like, no, what am I, insane? No, it's cold.
Hey, come on! Half the year it's beautiful, so you could pick a month that would be nice.
I had brief thoughts that maybe I would move to BC because there's a lot of voice work, and I was thinking maybe and then I was like, wait, it
Well,
doesn't
Paul,
look
Paul
right.
could tell you all about BC. That's a
Yeah.
mild climate there.
It's pretty mild. It just rains. It's like
Yeah.
Seattle. It rains all winter. Doesn't get that cold.
40
And let me
degrees.
tell you
and
right now,
rain.
you can't shovel rain, so that's good.
You don't have to shovel rain.
Yeah.
It shovels
Sorta.
itself.
It's, oh.
And you can pump it.
Nope.
Well, let's kick it off this week with a story from Mr. Mark Coughlin about EV launches.
Yes, GM, of course, has announced recently that they're going to start pushing hard on the Ultimate Battery new platform that they have. They've indicated that they have a Cadillac that's coming out. We, of course, have the GM Hummer. And then recently, they've announced the Silverado. And, of course, the follow-up will be the Sierra pickup as well. But the recent one, the pickup, the Silverado, had actually gone on to start receiving reservations. And they received over 110,000 to this point. So that's pretty hefty, especially because they're going to be selling a higher priced pickup at the beginning. They say they will have a pickup that's about $40,000 to start at some point. But the initial reservations are going to be for the higher priced version. So this, of course, allowed GM to announce a few other things. They want to speed up EV production. And in order to do so, they've made some announcements about capital. They're going to be spending roughly $6 billion, that's 6 billion, over the next 3 years to shore up some capital assets, plants, and production lines. You may know already that GM is producing these new entry EVs at their Hamtramck location, which is in Metro Detroit. And of course, they have the Orion plant, which is northwest of that location, that is producing the Bolt EV. That is going to be changed to produce the truck, the pickups. So there's a number of different things that have to be done with capital. They've also indicated that they're now planning for a third Ultium battery plant. Two are under construction currently, and a third one will be built with partnership with LG. All three are under partnership with LG.
And Mark, are all three in North America?
All three will be in America.
Okay.
Yes. So all this capital will be spent in the USA, and they're hoping that with this input of cash, that they will be able to start producing 1 million EVs by the end of 2023, I believe it was. So that's a pretty tall bill for GM to hit, especially since the rebuilding or the reformatting of some of these plants has to be done within a certain time frame. And of course, as we know, a lot of manufacturers are being constrained by the number of batteries they can actually make. Now, GM is making these plants. They're going to be making them themselves so that they're basically shoring up a supply that they will have moving forward. Not sure if it's going to be able to fill 1 million vehicles, but certainly it's a step in the right direction, being able to not rely just on the market, but since you're building the plants and they're going to be your batteries, as long as they can get those raw materials to build them, hopefully they can obtain the proper amount and produce the vehicles that they're hoping to produce. But I do want to congratulate GM on starting to move the ball forward, albeit it's a bit late. They have taken a long time to get to this point, and they've kind of made some missteps along the way, as far as I'm concerned.
10 years.
But it looks like they're starting to get the idea, especially with this 110,000 reservations that came in for the Silverado, that people are wanting EVs that they could supply. And if they don't get their butts in gear, they're going to miss some of this market share that seems to be out there. And the reservations are starting to show that. So hopefully their plans will come in on time, and they'll start to deliver these vehicles, and we'll get some more happy EV owners joining the party that all of us have been involved with now for a number of years. But we look forward to more EVs actually coming in to the market as a whole. And GM certainly will be able to fill some of that market share.
Yeah, and that's just 10 years of the modern EV I was talking about there, because they've been doing this since the 90s, and we wouldn't know it.
So I've got a funny tangential GM EV story.
Yeah.
So customer came in today.
Uh-oh.
He has a Chevy Bolt EV.
Awesome.
And he's doing the return trade-in thing to get a new the Bolt SUV, or EUV, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And they've agreed to help him get the old Bolt to get the new car. Anyway, the problem is he has a bunch of critter damage in his Bolt EV. Critters shoot through wiring harnesses, and they say, well, we won't take this car back till you pay to fix it. And the reason he has critter damage is GM told him, don't park it in your garage, park it outside. Yeah. And he's like, well, if I would have parked in my garage, I wouldn't have critter damage, but you guys told me not to park it in my garage because it would burn my house down.
Right.
And so he's got to pay out of pocket to fix the critter damage in order to give back the GM car. And of course, he's not too impressed by that. And
I would
to
save
GM corporate
and get a lawyer.
And they're like, go pound sand. And I said, well, why don't you call up the Wall Street Journal and say, this is how GM is treating the EV early adopters. But anyway, interesting story.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting to see.
I'm just curious. But
what was that?
Go ahead, Russell.
Okay, no, because I was.
I'm just kind of curious, Paul. So I mean,
go on, Russell.
Russell, go.
Sorry, Georgia. Obviously, I'm delayed. Yeah, no. So, Paul, do you think that's fair?
What's
I'm just
fair?
curious. I mean, as somebody who repairs these things for a living, that GM's requiring this and that they're not. I mean, because
Well, it'd be different if
it
he-
seems unlikely to me that
Like-
GM
like-
would step up and pay for that.
Well, normally, if you park a car outside and critters chew on the wires, it's not covered by manufacturer's warranty. That would be your insurance. But in this case, GM specifically told him not to park it in his garage. There are no critters in his garage. So he was just doing what they said, and they should step up and make it right in this case.
Yeah, especially
That's my
since they're
opinion.
probably just going to crush the thing.
Yeah, who knows what their plans are.
Interesting.
But,
Sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to go down that rat hole with your story, which really didn't have anything to do with wire
A rat hole.
damage or anything like that.
it was actually
Yeah,
bunnies
literally.
that ate the wires.
Bunny hole.
It was bunnies. Bunnies destroyed my EV. There's the show title right there. Bunnies destroyed my EV.
Show title.
And GM don't give a shit.
Well, it's kind of-
Oh!
It's
I am
kind
glad
of
to see-
interesting, though, to see Tesla kind of backing out of that entry level market for EVs with their $25,000 vehicle. Now, do you guys think that at some point they're going to come revisit that? Because that was a part of the plan, according to Elon Musk. But by leaving that price point open, that's a great thing for any other marketing, any other manufacturer to step up and take over that area. So, but do you think he's going to
If they can do it
come back to
profitably.
that? Well,
Yeah.
That's the major problem, right? With inflation that has happened over the past year and a half, 2 years, everybody, every manufacturer, even the local food store, everything inflation has gotten us all in so many different ways that knowing that 2.5 years ago that inflation was going to be at a 40-year high certainly has bit a lot of people in the butt with their plans that they had for 2021 or 2022 or 2023. As far as that car is said, Elon had said that they had plans to do something like that. He believes they could have done that. That was at Battery Day about 3 years ago. And what he had said was that we would look at producing it in 3 years, which would be sometime in 2023.
Yeah.
So at this point, with the shortages that they've experienced and to be able to ship out everything that they've had is sold, they're going to put that on the back burner for now. How long? Don't know. Will it ever come? Not really sure. I sure hope it comes because that is a big market to skip by. And especially if you can build something that's profitable, that would be a huge win for Tesla. But I guess
there
we're
is a
going to have to see
25K
how the market
EV,
goes.
the Candy EV, remember?
That's less than 25K.
Oh wait,
That's 10K.
that is not a
The Candy
25K.
EV with the K.
That's not what we're looking
So I was
for.
gonna ask, when do we all think that we'll see a $40-ish thousand pickup truck EV? Because I don't see it happening next year from any manufacturer. I mean, you've got GM with a $115,000 truck. You've got everybody else with a 60 to 80, and then Tesla with a $40,000 truck that we know is coming out last. Is it going to be in 2024, 2025? And are we going to adjust that number for inflation?
Yeah, and the trouble is that we can't really project how long this inflated period is going to last because, hey, COVID, COVID is affecting everybody. COVID is affecting all the supply chains. It's affecting the ability.
My eyeglasses
to
were
have-
supposed to be in 2 weeks.
All the
It's been a
truckers
month.
are in Canada protesting. so-
all the truckers in Canada, and also we have to understand that considering how COVID has worked to kill people, it's taken out a lot of experienced workers. So we don't have the workforce anymore. So how do we do this? And with all the new regulations to try and not spread COVID to everybody, oddly enough, not everybody wants it. It means it's more expensive. It's less people able to work to keep things safe. So in a lot of ways, the cost of doing business has gone up. So I don't know. It's
Robots.
no. Although granted, I personally am all for our technological overlords because really, we've made a huge bollocks of everything. Sorry, but it's going. I don't know if we're ever going to really get out of it because the cost of basic doing business is now higher, and that's an issue. So,
The only good thing is everybody's getting paid more.
are we? Are we done?
Well, it didn't necessarily measure out for everybody, but
Yeah,
that's the only, like you said, the silver
Yeah.
lining.
like you said.
I
Okay.
do think the interesting question here is when and if we will see that sort of domestically produced, whether that's Canada, Mexico, North American produced, sub $25,000 EV.
It's
That
got to
isn't-
happen because the whole goal is to replace everything with an EV.
An
So
iMEV.
that's part of everything. Yeah, an iMEV, a Candy. That's where you're at right
It
now.
is.
But you also have to do it safely because I'm going to continue to rail against anybody who makes a 0-star or 1-star crash test EV. It's not acceptable.
Okay.
I think that's fair to a point, but your comment just no, you can't hear me.
I can
I
hear
hear
you.
you.
What was that, Georgia? Oh, okay. I said I think that's fair to a point, but we also have to realize that our fleet is grossly oversized.
Yeah.
And the idea that anything on the road has to be able to withstand an impact of a 9,000-pound Hummer EV slamming into it from the side probably isn't the best metric to use. What probably we should also be talking about is scaling, finding a way to scale down our fleet size so that people in smaller cars aren't in constant danger of morons in larger vehicles running over them.
Well, that's asking Americans to scale
A
down
lot.
is
A
like
lot.
asking an elephant to do point ballet. Come on, it just doesn't happen. It's why every time you see an American cook doing a traditional dish from another country, they take it and they overdo all the ingredients, all the flavors, and basically make it just this massively overdone
They
thing.
supersize it.
Yes.
It's oversized, over salted. It's just a weird agglomeration to make it more, always more. Our addiction to more makes it really hard for us as a culture to scale back and say, yeah, we don't need like a 10-foot long truck that can haul, a Tyrannosaurus Rex if we just happen to stumble on it. And I don't necessarily know how we handle teaching people to do less. There's some, I mean, I remember traveling through the islands and thinking, wow, they have some pretty cool trucks and vehicles that are not massive. You don't feel overpowered by your vehicles on the road. But you come to America and even a small car is bigger than some utility vehicles you'll find in some countries and in Europe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and part of that is the price of fuel, right? Like in Europe, where gas is $6 a gallon, you can't afford to drive an Escalade around.
That's true. It's a status symbol to be
Well-
able to drive a big old American thing.
Yeah.
Cannot hear you.
Most people can. Some
Right.
people can.
I'm not
Don't
suggesting
complain
that.
about it.
I'm not suggesting that if a company decides that LiDAR is a safety feature, that you put a $10,000 LiDAR on a $5,000 car, but you should, we've been engineering safety cells for decades now. That should not be something that you fail at in this day and age.
I mean, and certainly the cost of LiDAR has come down significantly. Speaking of that's one thing specifically, right? I mean, we've seen much cheaper, much smaller
Right.
ones, and they will continue to improve as we scale manufacturing. So
Right, but
LiDAR
if-
itself,
Right, but if a smart car with the Tritium cell can get play like a basketball or a football or a soccer ball basically against a large S class and survive, we can do that to other small cars as well without spending too much and still keep the car to be affordable.
Okay.
I hope so. I agree. Well, Mark, thank you. I mean, we totally took that kind of, but
Down
that's
a
a good
rabbit hole.
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, down the
was a fun topic.
rabbit hole.
And
Russell got a bit of a
zones in the
delay.
United States.
Let's go with the
Did I freeze again? I keep feeling like
Yeah,
I'm
you
freezing
keep
every 5
freezing.
seconds.
Yeah.
cutting in and out.
Oh, I got to stop this.
Get a new
Casey, what's your story?
So I had a little story where an Arizona utility lost their appeal for their practice of price gouging solar customers on their regular electric rates. And yes, because I've been complaining about utilities and solar for a while now, and they just keep finding the new lows to the bottom of that evil well. And so we've got California fighting for one now, but now that they've lost this court case, we've got a precedent set for what a utility can and cannot do with their extra fees and charges for solar customers with solar. I don't want to say solar customers because what's the difference where they get their fuel from the power company? But the customers that can feed solar back to the grid, which I wanted to discuss that with everybody here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would
Because,
have to say
well,
that
Casey.
that these different locations like California, like Arizona, you would
Florida.
think that
South
the
Carolina.
people that live in those sunshine states, they would be able to fight this kind of stuff off because there's a lot more of them. Like there's got to be a ton of people that have solar on their roofs compared to other northern states where it's maybe not as popular. So I am definitely hoping that the Sunshine States are able to fight off this kind of stuff. If there's any hope for the rest of us, they need to be fought off and win some cases to show that gouging is not an option for customers that have solar on their roofs.
Well, this decision definitely sets up a precedent for it. That's what one of the key things with getting a decisive victory, where he clearly says that, yeah, the structure of this was designed to make you less likely to have solar. So it's an unfair practice. Now we're going to see what the judgment is when it goes back to the trial judge, and we'll determine what, if any, restitution has to be made by Salt River Solar,
Yeah.
Salt River to their customers. But it's more important to have the judgment against them.
Especially since most people don't have a choice of utilities.
Yeah.
And a lot of states, you can't choose not to have a utility. If you have solar and battery, your house is condemned, and you still owe your taxes, and they take it from you.
And there's also an issue with towns like mine where they've been trying to have new construction built to LEED standards for almost the past 10 years. So each time they approve a new housing project, they have to have a certain component of solar. So if you have solar as a standard, you can't get your house built, any new development done any particular way. And to have a utility company saying, well, if you have solar, well, we're going to have these extra surcharges on you for the fact that you're using less of us and just kind of plugged into our grid. That just means they're penalizing you for green building, and that's not how it's supposed to work. That's not the intention, because it makes it less attractive for developers to build to these standards. It makes it less attractive for homeowners, and it's already hard enough to buy a home in California. So,
Yeah. Or like in my mom's town, where it's illegal to have rooftop solar. So even if they wanted to pay the extra to the greedy utility company, they couldn't because
Illegal.
yeah,
well,
they put it into law.
it's against. They
Who
can
wrote the
do
law?
it.
Big utility?
The utility company did, yeah.
Yes,
they
do.
they are a
Yeah.
not really a co-op, but they resell the electricity from the actual regional utility, and they wanted their vig, so they put it
Yeah.
into the law.
I tell people all the time, like it's they will actually come in with the basics of the law they want, and they will help you write that law to their benefit. And if you don't show up to your local city meetings for ordinances, et cetera, just got to scan a docket once in a bloody week to figure out what's on there. But yeah, they can write that. I mean, there's a number, some things you can understand, like water collection ordinances in desert states, where you cannot use a water collector because they rely too much on the actual rain that falls, the rare rainy periods they have for municipal water supply. But if you have a better option for your municipal water supply, you're pulling from a river, you have better groundwater resources. It makes no sense when they try to limit or charge you for your right to collect rainwater for your garden to help reduce the burden on the water supply.
Yep. You know what, Georgia? I have an idea for like a standalone show. You should do if you feel up to it at some point, do a tutorial on getting people involved in community activism, and Russell could put it up as a
Teach you how to show up to your meetings. It's actually pretty critical because we're the one thing I tell people a lot is that the problem with all of us people who look at what's happening as certain conservative people go out there and do their thing, we get to see all the clips and we go, well, that's kind of crazy. Why would they do that? How is that happening? And it's like, yeah, but the problem we have is that all us sane people stay home. we just don't know.
Yeah, some people do it for laziness. Others, I'd say a large majority of them do it out of ignorance. They don't know how this works.
There is a belief that if
Laziness.
something seems really off the wall, that it cannot happen or it will not go through because that is so weird and so off the wall bonkers to you that you don't think that anybody would buy that as a rational argument. The problem is this is not a world full of you. So you have to understand that this is a world where the people who show up get to make the rules.
Like in Georgia, all these farmers who'd never heard of Rivian come out. I hate Rivian. You can't build your factory here.
Yeah.
You don't even know what Rivian is. What do they do?
Don't know.
I don't know.
That's the thing. They can be, and people are bought to come out and do this. There are teams of people who they pay money and they send out these things, and you can show up and this is what it's going to do to your community. Sometimes they even do pay them to come. Here's your prepared statement and say this, and that way we can fight it. I mean, it's not illegal. It is not illegal to salt the earth for sustainable legislation and actions. It is not illegal to do that. So just as we find out a lot of times that crowds are purchased for certain people's events, well, yeah, there are people who are purchased to show up to municipal meetings, planning commissions, and help torpedo better legislation. And it's not just the lobbyists. The lobbyist gets paid to sit there. They can sit. I've watched a lobbyist sit there for 6 hours to finally be able to speak on a piece of legislation. Meeting starts at 6. The legislation doesn't hit the floor and for open public comment until midnight. And they've been there all 6 hours, and they are probably getting $150 an hour to do it, and they're fine, you know.
Plus, you can bamboozle the rubes and have them go up to fight over something that does not exist, like a certain subject being taught in school that's not taught in their local school because it's a college advanced course.
I would say we have to excise concepts like bamboozle the rubes, not because. Not so much in the fact that it's a negative way of saying it, but we have to understand that it is effective messaging to find out what they fear most and repeat those fears back to them and
Loudly.
Use that because I can't farm. I've tried. Once in a while, I get my tomatoes to grow, and thank you for the $200 6-month freaking tiny ass tomato, you stupid plant. But I will keep doing it because I am a moron myself, and I have not learned my lesson to stop killing plants and myself to get one freaking tomato in a season. Sorry, I still have bitterness over the 2021 growing season that didn't happen.
Just a little bit.
But the thing is, they know specifically what they know, and they don't have room for anything else. And things that go counter to how they see the world are too destabilizing for them to accept it. So what we need to do is address the message of that is not what's happening. Here's how I always say that one of the things you have to present when you come to public policy is how does it benefit them, and you have to understand how people are taking the negatives and showing them how it's going to destroy what they hold dear. And it's effort, and if you really care about it, the unfortunate truth is they are more passionate about stopping this stuff than the people who advocate for it are passionate to show up and present the positive side and effectively support these pieces of legislation or stopping bad legislation from happening. And that's the issue. But yeah, if you guys want to do it, I'd be happy to.
I would love to do that, and we will do that. And I also want to add a little bit of good news per David in the chat. The California law, it's hard to tell if it's a head fake or if they're really going back, but they have taken the worst elements of our bad solar bill off the table, quote unquote. Now, will it be reinserted at some point in 11th hour and then just mysteriously pass? That's usually the way that works. So I'm remaining cynical and watchful. But the good news is that there was enough outcry that the public, hey, we're going to give you this crap pizza. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you have to get the pizza by
pass
law.
on the crap pizza.
Yeah, the unfortunate part of our collective method of creating legislation is sometimes you get a wonderful pepperoni pizza put together, and just before you take it out the oven, somebody comes over and sprinkles at least a half teaspoon of crap on top of it.
Exactly.
And you wind up having to eat the crap because you need the overall the overall legislation needs to pass. And so you got to swallow some stupid shit that somebody managed to get on there and just at the last minute in exchange for a vote. It is when we took away things, you'll see this in, I tell people all the time that what you need to look at your city council meetings and look at your state legislature and understand this is the micro, and it should teach you about what's happening on the macro at the federal level. So when we got rid of earmarks in general, going back, I think the Reagan era, Reagan or something like that, because they cost a lot of money and we don't want to be bribed. Well, the bribery is actually what allowed us to say, don't put the crap on the pizza, and we'll actually do this for your community. And it's how we manage to corral people to voting for legislation more often than not. Because being able to bring home that pork was a big part of keeping your seat. And it's how we got a lot more of these bipartisan agreements. So when we cut out earmarks because, you shouldn't do that because somehow blah, 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 moral, blah, blah, blah. That actually is what kind of drove bipartisanship out the freaking window. Russian shaving accident style, where
where'd you get that
Slip while
polonium?
shaving.
terrible, horrible shaving accident where he cut his own head off and fell out of a window
Yeah.
with plutonium in his system. But that's what happened to bipartisanship. We cut out earmarks. People no longer could wheel or deal for things and projects that went to their districts. And then it became truly like all legislation became this ideological battle back and forth. And you'll see that play out in state and in local, county, and city politics. I've watched way too many hours of it myself when I worked running the cameras for these things, but I always thought it was cool because on the plus side, I got to run out during breaks and ask questions like the government lawyer. Why did we do that? How does that work? What makes this happen? And see how these things happen, even with councils that overall agree with each other. And there's no more of that. As you move further up the power level, there's no more of that wheeler dealer trading to get really good legislation that's free of crap. Now we kind of get it happening with little bombs thrown into stuff, and we don't know how it's going to work out later on down the road. But such is life.
There you go. Well, look forward to that episode on activism DIY coming soon. Let's go to our next story. Speaking of Georgia McKenzie, who has you know what? I don't even know how to segue to this. Georgia, really Fast and Furious?
I I call it Fast and Furious Tokyo Toyota Drift, actually. Full disclosure,
Okay.
I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie at all, but I have seen the commercials, and I guess that's close enough. Does it really
It
make
kinda
me
is.
watch it for a whole hour or whatever it is? No, because I think it's cars and somebody saying something about family, and then more cars,
Family.
and then they jump things that are completely impossible. There, all the Fast and Furious movies summed up. But
Wow.
but that cool thing of the drift of a car, the way how an experienced driver can control the car and make it swerve and do all kinds of cool things that all of us can only do on video games. And some of you actually try to do this in traffic, and I wish you would just frickin' stop. But Toyota is trying to find a way to put that into autonomous driving, not so you can do cool tricks on the freeway. Please don't, you people on the freeway. Don't. I'm looking at you, dude, who is standing on the motorbike on the freeway at 70 miles per hour, heading into SAC. What the hell's wrong with you? This is actually to make sure that you're balanced while drifting as a safety feature. Yes, as a safety feature, because one of the aspects of drifting is that it is a very controlled manipulation of the car. And one of the things that we often have problems with is actually controlling the car in situations where the grip of the tires to the road may not be the best in dangerous driving conditions. So they figure if autonomous driving AIs can handle that drift feature, if you know, your experienced racers and what is that? I was about to say Van Johnson, Vin Diesel.
Van Gasoline.
Jeez.
Some dude. Van Fuel engine. I look.
The
I am.
bald guy.
I'm an action and sci-fi junkie, but I just couldn't with Fast and Furious. Sorry, guys. But and I thought that's interesting. We're taking something that we only really think of as a kind of weird, cool trick, and actually applying the mechanics behind it to teach the AI to handle difficult driving conditions like Marks in Canada. Somewhere in Canada, you could be saved by
Yeah.
drifting.
It makes sense because if it can control itself at a knife edge on a track, then it might have a chance in the ice. If it comes across some black ice and doesn't realize it, and, oh shoot, I'm spinning. Right now they just give up, and then you got to hope that the human has some ice training. And
Yeah, and that's putting our faith in humans. Has that worked out for us?
yeah, I mean that's every EV I've ever driven. Like if it hits a little bit of slow slip as it's coming to a red light, and it just, let's go. It's like, oh, now I've got to handle this. Hold on, let me think back to my training in this situation I was not expecting because I thought the car was braking.
Well, when you talk about it like that, I think about the fact that my little Fit put some rain on just the crosswalk markers, and you try to drive off when one of your wheels is on the crosswalk marker, and suddenly you get that slippery thing, like, oh, I have to put in more traction, and it's like, dude, it's just a little bit of slip. What's wrong with you? And it has no AI whatsoever. I'm the intellect behind the wheel. Sorry to everybody else on the road, but you know, I'm perfectly for this. I think I worry because once again, there is nothing foolproof in this world because fools are just the hardest working people, and they can, God only knows what they would do with this, but hopefully it's the kind of thing we would see in an AI that would help.
Make it idiot proof, and they build a bigger idiot.
What do you think, Paul? Because you're the master tech here.
No, I think anything that improves the safety of vehicles is a good thing. We just hope that people don't go and tweak it so that they can kind of go drifting through the parking garages like they do in the movies.
Well, I'm actually gonna read a comment from David Glotfelty in the chat, which is a good point. The problem is good drift requires tires in great shape and inflation. The tires of the average driver might be in so-so shape. I suppose the AI might try to monitor tread pressure and age. And the fact that we actually already have sensors for a lot of that is a good start. Now, the thing is, I have noticed that people and monitoring their tire quality, that can be a little iffy.
Well,
Every fall on every car group, you get this. What does this yellow thing mean? It means put air in your tires.
but real drifting on pavement destroys tires.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have a kid who comes by who actually drifts at a track in the Denver area, and he takes our tires that are kind of worn out, and he gets about 3 laps on them, and he has to throw them away. They're totally spent. And if you drifted on a regular basis with normal road tires, you'd be buying tires every 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. And we saw to David's point, we saw that patent that Tesla filed that hopefully is in their open source chest that everybody can use, where they can use the input from the sensors to determine your tread wear. They already know your tire pressure, and to determine if there's a mismatch in your tread wear, and if that's available to everybody since it's a safety feature, maybe this will work with this what Toyota's doing.
Russell, is he getting on the mic?
I'm
Yes.
I'm fine. I don't have anything to say, believe it or not. I think you guys are covering it. It's technology can help us and also can be misused, and that's sort of the double-edged sword that we live with, being humans. You know, the same performance enhancing things that can potentially get you out of a slide or a crash also help you drift around a corner at 85 miles an hour, and should be done at 17. So
Embolden people.
The trick is, the trick maybe is getting the assholes off the road.
Oh, good luck with that.
Let them just sit in the passenger seat and play on their phones, and the car can do the rest.
Let's have faith. Let's have faith that people will not abuse this tech.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, speaking of faith, let's go to Paul's story about a town in Wyoming that has faith in something that we haven't seen recently.
Interesting story. Little podunk town in Wyoming, which is a podunk state. Apologies to anybody in Wyoming listening to us, but it is the smallest populated state in the country. But a big thing in Wyoming is coal.
That's true.
There is a coal town called Kemmerer, Wyoming, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere. But they have a coal plant there and a coal-powered electrical plant that they are decommissioning in the next couple of years. And lo and behold, a company that Bill Gates is involved with has decided to put in a nuclear power plant in this small town to try out some new, safer nuclear technologies. And they've basically decided to offer anybody from the coal industry jobs at this new plant and keep the town alive, because otherwise the town would disappear. And I wonder if they're doing this truly to displace coal, or in case there's an accident with the nuclear, it's in the middle of nowhere and it won't affect people in big cities. But it is kind of cool. The company's called TerraPower, and I think they're using thorium-based reactors, if I'm not mistaken, which supposedly are much safer than traditional nuclear reactors. But it would be nice if other companies with newer technologies could displace carbon-based technologies doing this kind of thing and keeping the local economies on the road.
And of course, hiring all the coal plant workers, if it does ever screw up, they just blame it on the coal guys.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But, maybe this is just the first of many of these newfangled clean nuclear plant. Can you say that? I don't know. It's kind of like clean coal, but or greener nuclear.
Smaller format and cheaper to operate and run, and supposed to be
at
at a higher output too. So Like, we've been stuck with old generation nuclear power for quite some time. Having a few of these newer reactors with new scientific upgrades in them, it certainly could benefit us to have smaller reactors as opposed to really large ones.
It's better than
And-
Australia's solution of brown hydrogen and making their hydrogen from coal.
Yeah. Well, and even though Wyoming is traditionally a big coal state, they do a lot of wind power up there now because it's really windy up there, and they are looking at other things. So they realize they need to diversify for the future because coal will go away, and anything that can displace coal
It
is a
will.
good thing.
Well, the use of it will go away.
Yes.
Also, if we do manage to exhaust it all, it's not really renewable because it's all made from matter that
Well, it's
was
renewable. It
compressed.
just takes 50 million years. For the,
except that it came from the organisms not having a way to digest cellulose, and now we have organisms that can digest cellulose. So it doesn't happen. It won't happen in the same quantities ever again. It'd have to be something like a flash burial that can get the tree down before and the peat moss and whatever else before the organisms can get to it and then lock it away under heat and pressure. So.
Yeah,
It won't renew the
and
same
we
way
don't
it did.
really have 65 million years to wait.
That part.
That's really the main issue. Is even if it was reproducible, the sustainable cycle here is a little bit longer. We're used to just, look at this shit in the ground, let's burn it.
right.
And,
if
there's no
this
second batch.
new technology, nuclear can safely and economically produce electricity that used to come from coal, and that can be used to power electric vehicles, heat pumps. That helps everybody as far as greenhouse gas.
Without poisoning the population around it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Asthma, mercury in the air,
There you
etc.,
go.
etc.
So I guess we'll see what happens over the next couple of years in this little small corner of Wyoming.
Well,
I have to
it's
admit,
kind
Paul,
of-
there's a certain aspect to this. I'm sorry, Georgia.
No, well, I was just looking through it
There's a
because
certain aspect to this that I enjoy.
nope,
You're teasing us, Russell. You're cutting out again.
sorry. Russell?
Russell, come back.
I don't. Am I cutting out?
Yeah,
I'm not
you cut
really
out
sure.
mid-sentence. Sorry.
Okay.
You said certain aspects
I've
I
just made
enjoy.
a decision. Yeah. I was just going to say, and I'm not saying anything. Yeah, I'm just glad they're testing this in Wyoming.
Hey. I mean, it's an interesting. To me, it's kind of fascinating because, and it is brought up in the article. It's like, so this very conservative town is trusting Bill Gates that they also, in the middle of their
Saying he's putting chips in them and stuff.
the anti-vaccine hysteria that they also buy.
That's true.
Like,
It is in Trump country that they're doing this.
70% of Wyoming voters went for Trump, and all of the people they talked to in the article describe themselves as conservative. And the thing is, when it comes to the money, they're not going to pick apart Bill Gates. That's a quote. But the thing is, they also are suspicious because of vaccines and all the conspiracy theories they consume. We'll see what happens. There is no particular way to get all of our energy from one particular method. This is safer than other nuclear power plants, but it's still, as you guys all talked about, very much nuclear power. And I'd like to see it, as they say. Does this work? But we need something for coal miners. We do need to get rid of coal firing plants. Coal miners have gotten a raw deal for decades. The loss of pension, the illnesses that they're subjected to, the dangerous toxicity of what they bring out of the earth and how it's fired and how it affects their communities. So
I'd say a century
improves their
now.
something that improves their quality of life and trains them, and they don't have to leave the places that they love being in, because this is their home. We got to give it a shot. And yeah, they don't have to agree with me on other things for me to think that yeah, they deserve a chance to have a better life in the future.
But coal has been threatened ever since we discovered oil and natural gas. So, I mean, this has been a long time coming. And like you said, it'd be nice to transition folks rather than just leave them out to suffer.
David asks if is there a link to this article. David, that should be in. Is that going to be in the newsletter?
The show notes.
Yeah.
Show notes, yeah.
It'll be in the show notes. The
Show
comments on YouTube.
Okay.
But we can also put that
In the chat.
We'll see.
in the or in the chat so that they can have it right now. How's that, David?
You are
There we
you are
go.
a gentleman and a giver, Russell.
And I apparently have a very bad. I don't have enough bandwidth apparently.
Oh, I got cat. drool.
Okay, and I didn't. Oh, alternate show title. Okay, I'm going to say
Let's wrap it up here.
Georgia. My apologies. We're gonna
Yeah.
let's move that story to next week. Yeah, let's wrap it up because I until I get this wired up, so I don't have these stop and start issues. It's too frustrating. And let's start with Paul Guzik.
Thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight, and give us a thumbs up and tell your friends and leave us comments, all that stuff. And if any of you are in desperately cold Colorado who needs their EV or hybrid car looked at, give us a call at boulderhc.com. Look us up.
Debunnied.
Debunnied cars. And if you want to buy a hybrid or EV, just wait, because there's nothing available at a good price right now.
I know.
Get a
I
car
still want a
kit.
new car, and I'm just like, I'm insane. I love my car. I bought my car from Paul. Just
And
saying.
you know what, Russell? You could probably
Mark.
almost sell it for double what you paid for it right now. The market is that stupid.
Don't tempt me.
Wow.
If I had a way to do that, I would do that in a
But then you'd have to
heartbeat.
replace it with something that would
Right.
cost double what it costs.
Which would cost 3 times as much, right? Yeah, that's the problem. And I wouldn't be able to buy it from you. It's just it's a mess. There's no way around this. That's the problem. Okay, Mark, shout outs this week.
I wanted to let the people know, if you've watched us this far, please feel free to follow us on the
God
socials.
help you.
You can get us at any of the social medias. Just look up What Drives Us. It's that simple. Click on that, subscribe, say hello, send us a note. We would appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Well done, Mark. Casey Green.
Got a couple videos I'm getting ready to publish for you all. You can find them at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. And yeah, looking forward to that show that Georgia's now working on. And if you want to see that, come back here.
Oh man! All right.
It will be here. It will be here. And speaking of Georgia, shout outs.
Give her time, because we just talked about it on air just now. So it's not quick.
Yeah,
Rope me in.
it's not done yet.
This is literally how I wound
Georgia
up in
hasn't even really agreed to
relationships.
do it.
I was just standing there, and some guy was like, "Yeah, we should just probably live together." Huh? What happened? How'd that happen? Seriously, it's just what happened. Thank you guys for being here. You've been here this long. Hit like,
So didn't
hit
expect
subscribe. You know you want it. You want this good content in your veins, but in moderation. And while we're at it, don't forget to head on over to the Tesla Live. We got Mark Coughlin getting all the takes, all the information on Tesla, and hit like, hit subscribe. Go on ahead. And when you're done there, Casey's got your tech stuff. He's got all the updates and all the AI testing that you need. So hit like and subscribe at his channel at Casey Green. I can't speak. And if you just so happen to decide to freeze your butt off in Boulder, Colorado, stop by Paul's. You know, not because you have a car to fix or anything. You know, probably just bring him a beer because he's a good guy. And if you want a car, just stick some bunnies on something that's EV. We can bring it to Paul, and when the guy's like, I don't want to deal with this, Paul will sell it to you at a discount and with a bunny, probably. Sorry.
Oh, God. I can't even tell you. I'm not even going to go there. Okay, I'm going to say, yeah. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Georgia, Mark, Paul, and Casey for putting up with my intermittent audio issues. And thanks to all of you for doing that. Thanks, as always, to Michael Manring. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.